Yo, so we are back with another one. This is Corporate Counterculture, and today we are talking about something that's very interesting: data. Data, specifically building your pipeline from a data backed baseline. How do you do that? What do you do with the information? And how do you use it to help you make yourself successful for that next year? So, as usual, I'm Brian, and we have my partner here.
Brian as well.
Yeah, and so we're gonna dive into it, man. I remember when I think about having data and using a data backed baseline, I always think of it like football, and everybody has their planning sessions. Everybody's trying to figure out how they're going to go into the game, and you play every game differently based on the opposing team. And I think that's kind of like the most simplest way to describe what you do as a salesperson. Is every game is different, but then especially every year is different. Sometimes you have a really good year. I think we both had a pretty good year this year, and it always seems exciting for the next year. Like, that's what a salesperson is supposed to say, and that's how you're supposed to feel. But like, realistically, how do you make that excitement a reality? I think that data is everything. What's your take on that, Brian?
100%, man. 100%. So like building off of what we were discussing last week, the planning for the following year, you have to be able to look back at what you were able to complete. And then the idea here is really just the fact that you're not going to just randomly, without any actual tangible data, create stretch goals, create, these pie in the sky type of overall targets,
Yeah.
because you can essentially be shooting yourself in the foot. Whereas if you were to take an analytical approach and look at existing accounts, target accounts, existing opportunities within existing accounts, then you can really fine tune and filter out kind of all the stuff that you think are going to be very, very hard to achieve, and then filter down and drill down into the things that you might be kind of, in your opinion, low hanging fruit in one way or another. And really, for me, it's, if I'm going to try to do something like that, I'm going to start with existing accounts, existing relationships, and try to expand from there. It could also be, for some people, geographically speaking, like, let me just knock on the doors that are closest to me, as opposed to driving a couple hours out and having to go through the motions of knocking on the doors, a couple hours out. It depends on kind of looking back, what worked, what didn't work, and being absolutely realistic with your data.
I hear you. Man, and so I know I did something where I was talking about Shadur Sanders, but then I watched the Cleveland Browns again. And dude, because we're talking about data, and I was sitting there frustrated, not with Shadur, not with Dylan Gabriel, not with Flacco. I'm like, yo, this has to, like, something, what number am I missing where they keep doing this short game, run game over and over and continue these losing seasons? And I was almost about to judge them. And then I thought about, but salespeople, we kind of do it too. We'll just keep cold calling, or we'll just hold on to the one opportunity that we think is going to really take us through over and over again. So what I want to ask is, like, what is your number one thing that you look at for determining what's not an opportunity, or when you should do something differently?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if there's buy-in from like whoever I'm talking to, right? Like I've learned in this past year, one of the biggest things I've learned is be very, very direct in my questioning. Be comfortable with the silence, be direct in my questioning, and let them hear the answer like directly from the horse's mouth. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. I had a customer that we had a couple of good phone conversations, and then he ghosted me. And then I caught him again after like 3 months, and I caught him. He's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called me. Yeah, it's a great time to talk." And I said, "Look, let's set up a Zoom. We'll go over numbers." And I gave him like a blink. We're calling it a blink test, right? Like, hey, these are the numbers I have right now. How does this look? Is this too much for you? Is this in line with what you were expecting? And so forth. He's like, "No, we're good. Let's proceed." I said, "Great. Now we can fine tune these numbers. Let's follow up with engineering and so forth." And everything for me is, what do you think? Like, directly asking the customer, what do you think about this? And if they say, I'm good with it, then we know that we're on the right track. Whereas, in other times, like, you get so nervous as a salesperson to even open up the space for them to say no,
Yeah.
that you try to like really hammer home, like, yeah, this is good. And yeah, this is, you agree, right? You agree, right? You agree, right? And it's kind of like that, like, old school door to door sales trick of like asking yes questions, and it drives me up a wall. It like I hate that. I hate that so much. But for me, I rather just be like, "What's your opinion on this?" and just let them say it. I like this.
True.
I don't like that. I think that you're on the right track here. You're wrong here. Okay, tell me. Let's fine tune this because we're in the world of solution selling. But then that same customer that was all gung ho has now ghosted me again. 3 months. I think it's going on 3 months, 2 to 3 months. He's ghosted me again. And literally this morning, updated Salesforce and said, revisit, Q2 of 2026. Because I'm not going to sit here and call this guy every other day if he's not interested. Then you have to be able to walk away.
For sure.
So there is the idea of sunk costs. There's the idea of like the time that you've committed versus the reward that you're going to get from it. But for me, it's hear it from the customer. Are you excited about this? Are you not excited about this? Whatever your answer is, why yes, why no. And now you're able to read between the lines a little bit and listen to what's not necessarily being said. You can kind of decipher some of that in between subtle messaging.
Yeah. No, that's true. You touched on something very clear that we as salespeople don't do, even though we say we do. So we're talking about building a data-backed baseline. A lot of times we just go off feeling as salespeople. We feel our way through the data. Like we can see the information and we'll still go with our intuition or our emotion. And it doesn't work out for us most of the time. We end up bumping our head up against the wall, wasting more time on a prospect or a process that we shouldn't be doing or that we could be doing, but we just need to limit the amount of time we put into it. And so, yeah, I think that's super important because like data could be predictive. It's not a limit. It's not, hey, I sold 2 million last year and now I'm only like tied into 2 million next year. It's like, oh, okay, if I sold 2 million last year, what's the reality of me improving by 50%? Like, can I improve by 50%? Is the right setup, systems, and information there to improve by 50%? Or, hey, I did 20 cold calls a month last 3 months, and I got 4 leads. Okay, so do I go up to 60 to get 5? Do I go up to 100 just to get the 7? What's that? Or are these leads even worth my time? Or are these real leads? Is cold calling working in this way? Do I need to try something else? Maybe it's emails that would be more beneficial to me, but does the same work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I think that data is super important. One thing I think is limiting, though, I will say some things are limiting, is our experience. I think a lot of times salespeople let their experience limit them.
Yeah, true.
And then we'll say, oh, cold calling doesn't work because I only got 4 leads. But then if you take away cold calling, where do those 4 leads come from? How do you make those 4 leads up, right?
Yes.
So we do limit ourselves based on historical information. So you got to kind of look at it and use it to become more of a predictor, I guess. That's where I'm circling around.
I think that's a good point, but at the same time, that topic brings me back to Alex Hormozi, because Alex Hormozi is the master of saying like more volume, more volume, more volume. Yeah. He gave an example one time of like a guy that said like, oh, I put flyers on cars and I've generated X amount of dollars. And Alex is like, okay, great. That means that I should put flyers on cars. And so Alex said, this is directly from, I don't know which podcast he said this on, but he said like, I think it was 300, put 300 flyers on cars. I didn't get any callbacks, nothing. So your method doesn't work. He's like, oh yeah, typically we go for more than 300. Typically we go for like 30,000 and we'll get like 5% callback. And Alex is like, oh shoot. I mean, 30,000 versus 300 is a much wider net. You know what I mean? So like that was his example of volume.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing for me in terms of calling. Like my low call weeks, the actual lead touch points or lead generation is much, much lower than my high call weeks. And it ends up being such a volume number, such a volume game. And then the same thing goes for like, even if you're going to look at like close rate and target and stuff like that. Like I was just going through this with my leader. Say, hey, I want to close 5 million next year, but my close rate is 10%. So how much do I need in pipeline? I need 50 million pipeline. What's my pipeline right now? 20. Okay. So I got some work to make up. I have some ground to make up and a lot of work to do, but volume and kind of just like understanding what your performance rate is versus like what you actually have coming down the line. That helps you understand if your volume is where it needs to be. To your point of, hey, I got 4 leads from 20 calls, but my target is 8 calls, then 20 calls needs to become 40 calls. You know what I mean? You got to look at that. Like that's the type of data you're kind of looking back on in the year to understand, right? Like, okay, I'm traveling, so my call volume went down off a cliff this week because I'm not going to be home, not going to be in my office. So let me account for that by adding up 50% of this week to the previous week, and then 50% to the next week, and make sure I plan for that. And I might need longer cold calling blocks, longer cold calling emails. If you don't do a lot of trade shows in a period, but you know that trade shows are a good lead source for you, then that might mean, okay, let me turn up my trade show. Let me do some research and see what other trade shows are around, some networking events or something like that. And that's something that, like, even for next year, it's going to be a hit for me, where we started planning out trade shows. This year I went to like 3 or 4, and next year I got 1. I think 1. I'm already in my head thinking, okay, that's a lead source, a significant lead source that is going to dry up for me. Yeah. And so I need to plan accordingly and prep the rest of my calendar around that to make up that ground.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yes, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I think that, so I agree with you, but that's why I think that you have to look at that data, because somebody who would say only 4, like you said, Hermosi would say it doesn't work, but you have to know the full scope of the numbers, because I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to figure out what my next year looks like. How do I get to 3 million? My goal is 3 million, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I even get there with no leads? So I'm trying to create new lead sources. I got some things that are probably in the works, I'd like to say, but as far as solidified, I would say a true prospect that is interested, or me getting some meetings, I'm like, I got to do something different, because this year I tried one way, and it got me to where I needed to go, but it won't get me where I want to go.
But that's a fair assessment. That's the whole point of this exercise.
Yeah. Like waiting, like trying it. Because you come into a system, you're like, hey, let me fit into this system. Let me see how this works. And you kind of learn some things, right? So you say, all right, cool. The way they do this, the way we do this works, this doesn't, this is good, this isn't good. All right, cool. This is what got me in this spot. All right, do I want to be in this spot next year? And you say, hell nah. And so then you have to, you got to expand. Unfortunately, but fortunately, like you said, you look at the data and say, all right, where's the volume coming from? And so that's why I said we were talking earlier, but I'm going to have to pay to play. Like, I'm going to pay to play and just see what happens. I have to increase my sources of my potential lead sources. And so that's what I'm working on now is, if this is a relationship thing where people aren't going to just answer the phone as much as I'd like, then I got to find out how to build some relationships, and you got to pay for some of those.
Yeah, man, that's big, right? And like, we have some internal directives and some internal ideas of like how that's going to work. I think it's going to pay off. Like, I think the whole, partnerships with these other dealers, other tech dealers and stuff like that, like, I think that's going to go really, really well.
Yeah.
But that foundation has to be laid down like for now. Sure. You know what I mean? So like, for me, even looking back at this year and what I want to hit next year, I'm nowhere near that. It's like a 3x jump for me.
Dude, and
so like, okay, well, I gotta turn up my relationship building 3x too. You know what I mean? And that's the killer, and that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
In that sense, right? But even still, the pay to play aspect of things is a lot of lunch and learns, a lot of. Have you seen the guys that do like Amazon gift card for like a meeting?
Yeah.
Or a Starbucks gift card for a meeting or something like that. And I've had some guys that have like hit on my inbox, and I'll ignore it. And then once they finally hit me with one of those, I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take your meeting. Sure. You know what I mean?
Sure, dude.
And it works too. So you got to get creative.
It does, man. It does. And so for me, I'm like, I got to figure something out, because sales is fun. It's not fun if you're not winning, though.
That's true.
It's a little fun if you at least have opportunities, and a lot of opportunities to work with. I think for us in our industry, like, as we do develop these, as the company develops these tiered relationships, it's going to drastically change for us, which is fine though. So I'm super excited about the direction that we're going, because from my eyes, it'll be more data. It'll have more
Yep.
information, what's clear. So now realistically, I'm in a level 1 to level 4 world where I'm just, all right, this is my portfolio now. Realistically, anything that I thought would be top tier is probably gonna go to a different type of sales
Okay.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. These should be able to be flipped left and right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I can just focus and say, all right, what type of companies do I think would fit this machine? And then, like you said, you just kind of hold their feet to the fire. Are you interested? Are you not interested? And I think I'll be able to move faster, but only if I have the relationships to bring those opportunities. So that's the
Yeah.
tricky part.
No, 100%. But like, you know, even you doing the work to be like, okay, this is where I'm lacking in my general approach. Like even when you're in front of a customer, I mean, I number one, like two things that I learned this year that I am super grateful for in terms of like leadership and mentorship that I got is, like I said a few minutes ago, the straight up asking direct questions. Like just ask for it. Don't be fucking don't be afraid. Just ask for it. And then number two is urgency. If I can turn something around and I can look back at this year and be like, okay, there's certain things that I didn't deliver as quickly as I could have. And it wasn't that I forgot about it or whatever. It was just like other stuff that wasn't necessarily like revenue generating tasks. Those other tasks took precedence over revenue generating tasks. And that shouldn't be what should be happening if I'm in sales, right? Like, dude, revenue generating tasks is above everything else.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
That's the data we really have to track. Like, how much time are you spending talking to legal and customer ops and customer troubleshooting and tech support, all these things that you don't need to be doing. Yeah. No, it's very true.
Yeah. So I learned that of like, okay, I need to be more urgent with the things that I got to do because it's too easy to get bogged down in other stuff and it's too easy to get distracted with other stuff. So yeah, revenue generating tasks has to be at the top of the list for this coming year. And that's just it's a me thing, right? So part of this looking at data is not just necessarily looking at numbers, but it's also taking a look internally and being like, okay, this is what I can do myself. And even if it's training, like, hey man, I don't feel great about my cold calling, my elevator pitching, my cold emailing, I don't feel great about those things. So let me see if there's something out there that will help me learn a better approach or something like that. So even if you go into the new year saying, I'm going to learn a new skill and I'm going to pay for this training or something like that, that's good. Let alone the networking aspect of those trainings too. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like there's stuff there too.
Dude, no, that before, I don't want to interrupt you, but
no, that's it.
Just before you go on. So yeah, I had that same situation where I was just like wrestling with cold calling and, cause nobody knows our product. So I was like, all right, we say it this way, like through training and looking at some things and sales, like, conversations and creating, what do they call it? Curiosity. I said, well, we call it, I started to say, well, we call it this, but you may just know it as this. And people were like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, it's just you may see it as it's like just a machine or just a software that does this. This is how we package it and this is what it does. And people be like, oh, okay. Because I used to just come in with the spill that we said, or that's what's on the website and all that. That was not working for me.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, this isn't working. I got to figure something out. I need to tell them I know what I'm talking about, but I also need to like say, you may have heard or may understand it as this. We're transforming that part of the process.
That's a really good approach because you're looking back at what hit and what didn't hit.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want, right? Like, and that's part of kind of listening to what's not being said or reading between the lines in a way. Like it's just not connecting.
True.
And that's a really, really big part of it. And then that's also understanding like who it resonates with, right? And then going from there in terms of like, okay, like this industry in general, or these types of positions within these organizations in general, I am able to have a quicker connection with, like a better conversation starter or something like that, icebreaker. Like if I can talk to the guy on the shop floor that isn't used to saying no and hanging up on people versus the receptionist that is all day long just nope. So even that, Like even if you fine tune who you're going to cold call, who you're going to cold email, that's a learning experience. And you can have the data that says, look at all these emails I sent to this position type that didn't hit, and look at all the leads in Salesforce that are this position type that I flipped myself. And even like it's the smallest thing, bro. You can really pick it apart and really fine tune your approach in the following year if you take some time to kind of go over that way.
So that's a good question. Let's talk about that from a data point. All right, so you have small business, and by small I mean maybe they do 100 million or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
You check ZoomInfo. ZoomInfo has maybe 40 employees because it's a small business.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 50, and then everybody else is like in the warehouse and they just don't have emails, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the only, let's say, leadership level, who are you emailing? CEO or director of ops?
Ops.
All right, now let's go to ops. Are you emailing warehouse manager or director of ops?
Usually warehouse.
All right.
I'll tell you this. I'll usually try both.
Okay.
But I have better luck typically with warehouse manager.
Okay. So now let's say there's a director of technology. Would you email that person or warehouse manager?
If I strike out with warehouse manager, then I'll go to director of technology. But I definitely don't start with them.
Okay. What about, all right, so let's say you struck out with the warehouse manager, director of ops. Would you go procurement first or technology guy?
Technology before procurement.
Okay. So I'm just want to show people an example of, based on experience, like how people
100%.
filter out when and who they email first. So when do you actually email a CEO?
If it's a small company like
3 million, 20 million or less, or something
like a 15 or less.
Yeah.
Then I'll email a CEO.
Got
you know
it.
what I mean? In general, I'm staying away from procurement. In general, trying to stay away from the front desk because they're just used to saying no. I'll usually just try to dial into the warehouse and be like, hey, I don't know, you never heard of me. And I'll ask for help. That was a switch that I picked up on early in the year.
Oh, that's a good one. That is
early in the year. So psychologically speaking, if somebody's trying to sell you something, you immediately want to say no.
Yeah.
But if somebody's asking you for help, you immediately want to say yes.
Yeah.
And that's almost like asking a yes question that I just said a few minutes ago that I hate people asking yes questions, because it's just like a dumb question. Oh yeah, you want to save money, right? Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I learned to just ask for help. I'm like, hey, maybe you can help me out. I don't think you're the person I need to talk to, but I was hoping you can help me identify that person and potentially even get me in touch with them. And they'd be like, oh, okay, sure. Like, what do you need? You know what I mean? So like even the asking, like just straight up, please help me out here. I need some help.
Yeah.
And they'll usually be a little bit more forgiving in that aspect.
Bro, that, and I haven't done that this year at all, and I don't know why, but my last job when I was in freight brokerage, I used to kill from asking for help. And then especially at UPS, bro, because I would even call the person that I know is the person. And I would just say, hey, man, I'm not sure if you're the guy, but maybe you can, same thing you said, maybe you can help me out. I got a ping about rates or a warehouse project, 3PL needs. And I actually checked out the company. I think we could really save y'all some money. Do you know who I should reach out to?
Exactly.
Like, oh, actually, I'm the guy. Or
exactly.
Talk to Rick. Rick, that's probably a Rick thing. And I'm like, okay, then I would go to Rick and say, hey, Rick, James just told me to talk to you.
yes.
I have not done that this year, so I don't know why I stopped. But that's good. This is what these conversations are for. Yeah, dude, asking for help if you get somebody on the phone is way better than trying to pitch them.
Yes. That's
way better.
That is so accurate, because like you just come out aggressive. The times that I've picked up a phone and called somebody and been like, oh, we do this and we do that and I can help you save money. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm already in the selling. They're like, oh, no, thanks. And straight up hang up on me. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like, yo, I did it to myself. I can't even get mad at them. Like I get frustrated and I'm like, I did it to myself. It's my own fault. You know what I mean?
You know what I hate too? Because sometimes you're so dialed in on calling.
Yes.
That you forget somebody answered the phone. So you're just like, oh shit.
You're so ready. Yeah. You're so ready to leave a voicemail that you forget to actually talk to a human.
You're like, yo, my bad. Let's start over. They're like, nah, bitch.
Yeah. That is so true. It's happened to me, bro, where like I'm just dialing. And And sometimes, honestly, what gets measured, what is it? What gets measured gets done.
Gets
And
managed.
so what gets managed gets done. And even
No,
what gets
what gets
what get-
measured gets managed.
yes. So sometimes you're so caught up in like, okay, I gotta have like activity,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So sometimes it's not even like a meaningful activity, but because that's being measured, that's what you need. That's what you're doing.
Dude, yeah.
So I gotta have activity. So like I've literally just sometimes sat there and clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked, and then somebody picks up and I'm like, oh, what am I doing again? And like completely spaced. You know what I mean?
Bro. That's
So
the worst. I've had that happen.
It's my own, and I can't get mad at anybody else. It's my own thing. So
for
you know,
sure.
looking back at the previous year, don't jump into selling, asking for help.
Yeah.
Don't email first. Call first. Start with ops. Work your way through the warehouse. Last ditch receptionist or procurement. Like that's, if I'm looking back at my cold calling, my prospecting efforts this year, that's what I'm going with.
Dude, me too. And let's have a data based conversation. How do you feel about cold calling in December? Because I have a hot take on it.
I think it's a waste of time.
It is a waste of time. It's complete. So we're in agreement. The only audible I do like to call is emails. And because I know no one is answering, dude, I'll send an email sitting on the couch watching Netflix at 10 p.m. at night. And every now and then I'll get a ping back. And I'm like, oh shit. And it's like, it's the most non-conventional work schedule for people in December. So I don't even take it like, dude, I'll hop in the car and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to call these 3 guys real quick. Sometimes I may not even know the name of the business. Well, I know the name of the business, but I just put in my phone like, okay, call these 3 guys, these 3 companies.
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, same thing. Hey, I wonder if you can help me out. But I work here, and we'll
bleep it out.
Time.
We'll bleep it out.
Yeah, I work here.
Yeah.
And I was looking to talk to somebody about this. I was wondering if you could help me out. And they'll hear me in the car, and dude, they'll be fine because they'll be in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's just always been a weird dynamic where I have gotten some really wonky out of the box opportunities that have kind of carried me through the next year.
Yeah.
In December, like for sure.
No, that's a good assessment. Right, everybody's all over the place, so email is definitely going to be better.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion. However, at the same time, it's easier to get lost in the mix too. So like I've almost given up on cold emailing, and that's another thing that this year I learned.
Yeah. So no, you're completely right. So let me preface, when I say it, it's literally, I have like 10 accounts and I'm just like, I'm talking to them as if we know each other. Jim, it was, hey, what's up, Jim? It's been a minute. I'm just like making up stuff at this point, dude. And then like, I'm just fishing. It's like like being single, trying to get a date or something.
Yeah. 100%.
At that point, I'm literally just talking to them as if we already know each other.
Yep.
And sometimes I'll text, sometimes I'll email, sometimes I'll call, and you just can't take it personally because you already know this is the wrong time to do this.
Yes, very true.
But it's like, you know, it's just training for me at that point, and I always come out with at least one, and that's always been beneficial. And I'm not calling a ton of people. Or emailing a ton of people or texting a ton of people. It's just in my downtime where I'm like, hey, I'm sitting down. Maybe they're sitting down too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're at a dinner they don't want to be at, or maybe they're at a movie theater and they're playing on their phone, and ping, and then I get one. But I'm in agreement. Like actually trying to structure cold calling and cold emails for sure. Cold emails I don't even know where they go anymore, bro. Let's be honest. I don't even know where they go. I was just on a call with a lady that I was passed to from another person. And I told her, I said, oh, well, she gave me your email too. I was going to email you, but I'm glad you called. She said, I wouldn't have gotten that. She said, I wouldn't have gotten that if it didn't come from like somebody that I knew. Like if it came from your company, our software would have filtered it out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it just, but I've heard that so many times.
Yes.
That it just makes me, it makes me really apprehensive about wasting my time on emails.
Dude, I'm with you 100%. But again, what gets measured gets managed, or what gets measured gets done. Yeah. Depends on what box you're trying to tick. You know what I mean?
For sure. So
on the sales side of things.
Yeah, you know me though, I have a trick. I do all my emails, like I structure it. And I make it work for me, and I track it. But yeah, like Or I used to spend the 15, 20 minutes trying to craft the perfect email, trying to add the value back. And then you realize it's not going anywhere. So now you have to just say, I'm gonna create a really strong message and contact people.
Yes.
That's what matters. Cause I come from, dude, again, being 41, I come from the sales mindset and the coaching where we used to pull back out fanatical prospecting. We used to pull back out challenger sales model. Like our sales coach would base it on, well, does it have this, this, and this? Are you managing your information skillfully? Are you crafting? Are you a thought leader or a trusted advisor? Because a thought leader is just saying shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, bro, I used to sit there and really try to figure that out. But then, thank God for data, you start understanding like, all right, I'm not getting as much return as I am from cold calling. And cold calling already sucks. So I might as well like limit my cold emails to what is the minimum required and my best effort.
100%, dude. It's about efficiency. At the end of the day, we're all strapped for time.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, you're asked to do more with the same amount of time and the same amount of pay or whatever. So you got to figure out ways to be creative and be more effective. And if you can differentiate yourself by number one, not emailing at all, just calling, to being a human, talking to a human.
Yeah.
That's a win. If you can be more efficient, more effective by just straight up calling somebody, that's a win too. And on top of that too, like you are also it's easier for you to understand like that, what is that customer profile? Like the
ICP.
Yeah, the ICP, the ideal customer profile, right? Yeah. So like the title, the tenure, the oversight, all that stuff of like what they're doing in the business to understand like, okay, who am I being passed off to? Who am I connecting with? Who is understanding what I'm saying? All that stuff comes into patterns, like recognizing patterns and things like that. So for me, if I'm looking back, the times where I've been most effective on the cold call aspect of things, the times I've been most effective has been literally open up a list of 20 accounts, 2 people per account, and just go down the list of calls and do 40 calls in a 3-hour window. And it's like, boom, like I talked to 3 people. I didn't talk to anybody or whatever. This customer doesn't need us, whatever.
Yep. Put my phone on silent.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is like LinkedIn, right? So like, then there's the question of LinkedIn. And so
don't get me.
It depends. I still haven't been able to replace the actual calling and talking to somebody.
Yeah. So y'all on your own. I'll tell you.
That's hilarious. Secrets. Some secrets are meant to be kept.
Yeah, I can't have everybody doing the same thing. Then it'll stop working, bro. And it doesn't work all the time. It's just it has given me at least I've at least been responded to and rejected. So I'll say that. And
yes,
that's a win for me to put in, leave this account alone or move on to the next person.
I've had that too, where it's like at least somebody will get back to you. However, it's too easy for them to like cut you off and then have that like, okay, I specifically cut you off and now you're coming back in through like a back door or whatever. And so for me, it's like a bit too dry in a way.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's why I said I have a secret.
So I'm not gonna,
Yeah. No. You know what I did wish before we close out, man? One thing I do wish that sales organizations or sales departments at companies had, you know how Spotify has that this year in rap?
Yes.
I wish that every org would, and I mean, unfortunately it's a scoreboard. We're already on a scoreboard. So if they would show, hey, we're tracking this, and this, because then you can say, oh, okay, the top person did this, and this. It would help people. Like, not that you have to hold people to it, but as a manager, you can say, yo, well, he's sending this amount of emails. Are you at least trying to put up as many shots as our top person? But here's the thing. I know there's nuance to it, but because sometimes you may be actually faring better than the person who's putting up the shot, who's at the top of the board on revenue, but it will at least speak to a balance of the activity, right?
Yes. Yeah. I see your point. Okay. You can at least quantify the delta in dollars. You can find a tangible way to quantify that.
But it may not even be there. So that's why I say the data is important, because I've had really good years where I've had way less sales activity than other people, because somebody from a company I won 2 years ago moved to a brand new company that was way bigger, and the opportunity was 3 times what I worked with him for before. Right. So there was the 100 cold calls that I needed to get something like that did not even exist, because I got that one, and then all you saw was my minimum, where somebody else probably had 3 or 4 times the activity that I did, but I had such a big monster sale that I took the time with it, but it was all relationship. So I think it helps both ways.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
it does.
because the one thing I like to do as a salesperson is talk to other salespeople about what they're
Hmm.
doing. But it also helps you come in with a picture. Like, if he's sending 20 more emails than you and he's killing it, how are you sending your emails? Matter of fact, give me your emails, bro, because you're killing it. Like, we don't even have to talk about how you send them. Just forward them to me.
Hmm.
Or what are you saying when you're calling? Because you're killing calling and you're killing getting sales. I
Hmm.
think that helps everybody, because the data does have some of the information where even if you're doing really well, you may be doing so well and you're so busy doing well, you may miss some key components of what you're doing. You may tell a person, "Oh, I don't email that much." And they say, "Dude, you're emailing 90 a week and I'm emailing 20." And he's like, "Oh, dude, I didn't even notice." So then you can say, "Well, how do you get to 90 a week?"
Yes, yes. I agree with that, right? Like everything's relative. Like a
Yeah,
lot of emails for me might not be a lot of emails for you. A lot of phone calls for you might not be a lot of phone calls for me. I think that in the space that we're in, there is a lot more to be said in terms of like tenure and
true,
how long certain develops and certain relationships and certain projects develop.
bro.
And it's not like I talked to some guys that worked at Cintas, and that's a perfect one of like, you went in there this morning, you left, you sent them a quote, you got the PO that afternoon. We're not doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. We're not doing
yeah,
that. So there is a difference in like overall grind versus like overall relationship development. And that's part of why I like what we do in terms of solution selling, and also part of what I like in terms of what I did in my last job too. Was it was that like that back and forth, that conversation,
yeah,
that joint relationship building and solution building and buy-in from both sides. That to me is far more important than just a sale. So like just today we had a call. I had a call with a customer that he and I have been talking for, I don't know, 9 months or something like that. And it didn't go right because he involved somebody else and they diverted the whole call, the whole project. They're like, "Oh, this, sucks, blah blah blah." But he felt comfortable enough to FaceTime me after and have like in like a one-on-one kind of debrief and be like, "Oh, what did you think and what did I think?" And we together we were like, "Okay, we have a plan to move forward." But that was a joint conversation. It wasn't just a, "Hey, I'm the salesperson, you're the customer, you tell me what to do and when we're going to
yeah.
get a PO." So that aspect of it and that freedom to have those conversations is far more important to me than getting a signature by the end of December. I want to value that over just the numbers, because if I just strong arm my signature in there in my sale, then I could be at risk of losing that relationship because I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't like foster that relationship above everything else. And that's what we're in. We're in the relationship building world.
Yeah, but see, so I agree with you. That's why I think I want the data, because then you can say, okay, this person has been in this industry, specifically this industry only, for 10 years. So as these people move around, you know what I mean? That's why I use
Yes.
my example.
Yes.
I would just happen to be at a job long enough where the opportunity from one also became other opportunities, because that's where I think you start really making money in the older industries. Now, if you're just in complete SaaS, where it's like flip of the switch, download the
Yeah.
API, you're saving on FTEs, you know the script.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
just doing that, that still takes time, but it's a little bit more transactional versus like, hey, I have this solution. I need to get in your warehouse. We may move some employees around. This is going to involve marketing and procurement and operations, now accounting. Yeah, it's a longer sales cycle. It needs more dynamics, but that's why I think if you have the data too, it can help you and say, okay, for this guy who's been here And we can take the years out of it, even though we know years in the industry helps. But if you know, hey, this guy who I want to be like is at least doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I need to at least be here. Because you may talk to your manager who did it completely different, or another person who's doing it completely different, and or you may talk to the person you want to be. But again, they're not looking at their data like that because they're just killing it or they're busy. You may come away with a misguided take. You know what I mean? And I've done that to people before where they've asked me, well, how much do you do this? Or how many times? I'm like, I don't do it that much. Like, nah, every day, nah. But then I say, oh, well, I do. Yeah. But all Monday, that's all I do. And so I never thought of it to like go back and frame it in the way they needed to hear it.
Yes.
So that's the only reason I say like sometimes the data is important. If you could pull it up and say, dude, I see you do this amount. And I don't think you should give access to the managers. I think that should be.
That's it. That should be a you thing for sure. For sure.
Well, that should be. I think it should be from an ecosystem wise, and you probably can't trust other salespeople with it too. But from an
it depends on how healthy the culture is, though.
From an ecosystem wise, I think it would be healthy if you could. Hey, you could look at your peer and say, "Damn, dude, he's doing like 50 emails a day."
Yes.
Cool, because as a new person, this is what typically happens. You talk to a more vet, and they're not doing half as much of the activity.
Nope. And yet they're killing it. And I'm like, yo, what the hell?
And so you just think you're doing something wrong or you're doing too much. You need to let the leads come to you. Like you'll get into this weird Tony Robbins of yourself and like, no, just, live in energy and alignment. And it's like, no, they've been fucking grinding and it's starting to pay off. And you got to really have to understand that. So that's the only reason I think like the data needs to be an ecosystem of data as well too. And maybe it doesn't have it per person. Maybe it doesn't have it by name, but maybe you can say, hey, here's where I am versus our average peer in this company.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But a lot of that too, I don't know, man. It still comes back to like you're saying, like collect the data. Yeah. But it's on you to collect the data. True. And it's on you to understand what you're doing and what you've done and all that stuff. So like for me, at the beginning of this year, I took it upon myself to build out certain reports within Salesforce that like now as the year is coming to a close, I had other people on our level be like, hey, I heard you have this and I heard you have that. And like word kind of got out. And I was like, yeah, I do. And it was like, I can tell you everything that I've done over the last year. Like it tracks everything. And they're like, oh shit, like maybe I should have done that too. And I was like, okay, well, you lay the foundation. It's going to take time or whatever, but like it's a perfect opportunity, right? The holidays, things slow down for us.
Yeah, clean up.
Perfect opportunity to clean up your CRM and clean up all of your operations and clean up all your admin stuff that you got to do. Go into the year with a clean slate. And then also like, okay, this is what I want to track. Let me build the reporting and the Excel files or whatever, the folders, whatever however you manage your stuff. Let me build that out now so I don't have to think about it on the fly. And I think about it that way. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is the time to do it. This is the time to dive into everything that you tracked, that you didn't track, that you want to track for the next year. Like data. You know what I mean? And then that's not just your actions too, but like your, what's the word? Like your actual target sales network in the sense of like, who are your customers? Who were they before you necessarily like joined? Who were you able to flip? Yeah. Who did you strike out with? And then that way you can kind of fine tune like your ideal customer profile, your ideal account, and then use that profile to build the target list. Which is kind of touching on what we had last week. You build the target list based on like your successes and people that you call on regularly and all that other stuff. So it's just, you can't go forward without understanding where you've been.
True. You can't go forward without understanding where you've been. That's a good way to close, to be honest. That's a good way to close. You can't go forward without understanding where you've been. Yo, what do y'all think about this? Let us know, man. Like, comment, subscribe, give us any feedback. Tell us how you're tracking things. What do you think about data? Is your company good at using data? Have you used data and then nobody cares, so you stopped? That's happened to me a few times. Let us know. Let us know in the comments, and we'll talk to y'all next time.
All right, y'all.